DAX, all called to open lower by 15 points for the CAC, by 19 points for the DAX. The FTSE 100 is called to open down as well by 8 points. Well, let's get out to David Costa, who joins us live from Zurich. He's Dean of Robert Kennedy College, keeping an eagle eye on what's going on around Europe today. You draw particular attention to the urgent need for a financial union in Europe. Just describe to us why you believe this is required right now, what difference it will make.
Good morning. Well, I think that a financial union will really make a huge difference in terms of avoiding this huge fragmentation, which creates potential problem, to also avoid a future crisis. But also, on a shorter term, it will really create, restore confidence that Europe is moving to a more united agenda. And pretty much, I also believe that a single currency warrants the need of a financial union and having the same playing field for all financial institutions. And another very important point is that to get through this crisis and really reignite the world in Europe, we really need some strong banking system, and a good supervision would certainly make a difference, could make a difference also in the terms of perception for the investors.
So let's say we do get that system in place, David. Who does that benefit? Who does that hurt when you look around the European banks that are remaining in their current state?
Well, obviously, as you have seen, every decision in Europe is pretty delicate. So there has to be, first of all, ensure that the current central banks still play an important role in this new supervision authority demandated to the European Central Bank. But at the same time, I think the ideal scenario here is really to have not really some losers and winners, but to have some form of unity coming out of this and not another way to divide Europe further. So really, the aim here has to be to have on board as many opinions as possible, to create something which is sustainable on the long run, and not just something that in the short term may be seen even as benefiting some of the stronger countries and penalizing the more weaker economies in Europe.
Yeah, David, despite these moves towards creating a financial union, ultimately, I think it's still clear the reality on the ground remains that they are all still carrying on their own agenda, as evident in the fact that nobody wants to give any further haircuts to Greece as well. So ultimately, how do you reconcile the two? As our earlier guest was saying, ultimately the region will inflate away its debt.
Well, that's certainly what, to some degree, is going to it might happen. That's why I recommended previously investment also in other assets as gold. But it's not that simple. I think sometimes the perception from many commentators outside Europe is a bit more cynic than what it really is. We really have a pretty much young situation which needs time to develop, and it's quite normal for Europe to take time to reach those important decisions. Again, it's really meant to get as many people on board as possible, and so it will take time. It's not something that will happen overnight, and he has to have as many consensus as possible in this situation. So it's not that simple. Just there is no simple way out of this. It requires time, and inflation is certainly a possibility, but it's not guaranteed, because the European Central Bank is certainly very keen on maintaining their record on price stability, so to avoid any type of inflationary pressure on the short term at least.
Yeah, price stability seems to be one thing, but what about these rumors, especially circulating from last week, that they may in fact take rates to negative territory? Do you think that could actually take form anytime soon?
I don't think we will have concrete negative rates very soon, but of course in certain economies here in Europe we might really have what are so-called real negative rates in terms of seeing what is the real inflation and what is just the statistical part of the inflation. So that's certainly a possibility, and we have to be careful on that. But I don't see on the short term going into really a more negative interest rate than what we have at the moment. So I think the situation stabilized since the summer intervention of the European Central Bank, and is moving slowly, as normally in Europe, but is moving toward a resolution which will take a few years, obviously.
Well, David, thank you very much for that. David Costa, Dean of Robert Kennedy College, joining us live there from Zurich. So let's get more on what